Good evening, everybody, and welcome back. We've got a special episode of the Creative Cranium. Our topic tonight is enhancing the customer experience, and I got some terrific guests. Please welcome Paul Thayer, David Whalen, TODD RAYNER, and Mike Spring. Welcome, guys.
What is up? What's going on? Ready to roll?
Man, it's great to see you guys. We got some terrific questions. So without further ado, I'm going to launch right into it. I'm going to start with Paul. Paul, I want to ask a little bit about ways that we make our product stand out in the crowded Kickstarter landscape. One of the main ones, of course, is variant covers. What's your take on variants? What is the correct amount, and has it worked for you?
I wouldn't say there's a correct amount. It just depends on the market that each person has in that category. For example, I only do 2 covers. So 2 covers will be a cover A and a cover B on my single issues. And when we did the trade on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, I did 3 and had no other things to buy. It was either digital, cover A, cover B, cover C, and you either get it or you don't. I personally think like a homage cover does pretty well, especially at like a convention as well too. A homage cover goes a long way, depending if it fits that niche as well. Is it like if it's Galaxy related, is it Star Wars? If it's superheroes, is it X-Men? Like that.
Yeah, you do a good job of those homages. I've seen them. You got some pretty cool ones. David, how about you? As far as variant covers, have you had any success? What kind of things have worked or didn't work?
Yeah, I try to keep it to a minimum for variant covers with the amount of books that I put out in the last few years. I try to just keep like moving forward and getting them out. But I will say that if I put a book on a different platform, say like if I have one on Amazon or I have one on Lulu or something else that maybe sells digital books, I'll make a separate cover for that book just so I can kind of maybe keep track. If somebody says, hey, I got this book from this platform, I'll know where it came from. There are sometimes also where I have worked with other creators that have their own companies, so we'll do a separate cover for his or that company and a separate cover for my company, just so we can kind of separate out the two between each of our companies. And again, if somebody goes online and says, hey, I just got this book, we can know from which company's version they got it from.
That's a pretty good idea. And of course, as always, there's no wrong answers. We're always interested in hearing what kind of things worked and didn't work. Mike, how about you? I saw your last campaign. You had some pretty interesting variants in there, and really sort of what I would call a creative approach.
I like to think so.
Yeah, I mean, what I mean by that is, and if I get this wrong, correct me, but you had one that was like a Rolling Stone cover, right?
Yep. Yeah, I did. It looks a lot like this, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that was it's been a big seller for me.
It's a bold choice. And so tell us, what were some of your better sellers? What are things that worked and what things didn't work?
Yeah, so I've kind of settled on like a formula now that seems to be working pretty well for me. I do 5 covers, and it's funny, as a collector, I'm like, variant covers, I hate them. There are too many of them. As a Kickstarter guy, I'm like, gotta have multiple covers because
have it.
It sells. So I do 5 covers, just to give people a choice and to have a few extra things, because with crowdfunding, you've got to have choices for people. So I have my regular artist do 2 covers because he's pretty affordable, and he does a great job. So those are always a win. Then I'll have 2 like local artist friends who aren't like big names do covers for me, and I try to get one sort of like medium-sized name artist to do it. Like, I'm not getting Jim Lee or Adam Hughes to do a cover for me yet, but I've gotten people like Drew Moss and Ryan Brown and Livio Ramondelli, like some known people, to do a cover for me. And they're kind of usually the most expensive ones. Russ Brown, who has done a couple of them for me. So that gives me a little bit of, cachet with a name that I can sort of advertise it with. It goes pretty well with me. I mean, I usually do the homages. Like I said, I did the, for my last book on Cape, I did the Mary Jane.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Tiger, and I try to do them thematically, and this one's a superhero rom-com, so like Mary Jane and Peter, that kind of works. And so it's always, interesting what sells and better than others, because sometimes it can depend on the show. Like that Janet Jackson cover at the Baltimore Comic-Con last year, sold out of it.
Oh, I can imagine.
Most conventions I had sold 1 or 2 of them, and then I sold out of like 30 copies of it at Baltimore. And then I'll take them to another show, and a different cover will sort of be the one that goes. That's why I kind of like to have a few of them out. And then I always have my main cover a little bit cheaper, kind of like this is the if you just want to read it cover, and then I charge up like a $5 upcharge on the variants. And that way you can kind of choose, do you want to just read it, or do you want to read it and maybe have a little more collectible, aspect to it? And that,
do you mind if I ask you, what is your, we'll go with this. What is the high point for your highest variant?
So I do 10 for the main, because it's a 48-page square bound graphic novel. I $10 for the main and 15 for each of the variants. And I just kind of leave it I don't do like a tiered pricing or anything. And that way people,
that's a good price. That's a good price.
Yeah, they move pretty well.
Interesting. Great answer. So Todd, how about you? Are you a variant cover fan? And if so, what kind of things have worked for you?
Yeah, I am kind of, I'm on the fence. Also, as a Kickstarter, crowdfunder, it's like you got to have the variant covers. But as a collector, same thing. Like, oh, that's so many. But I feel for the last Kickstarter I did, it was Annabelle issue 2. I ended up having 13 different covers, and it's kind of a weird mindset for me. I had to kind of change that mindset to where realizing that I don't have to really print every single cover that's from Kickstarter, right? That's an exclusive platform where if you order that cover, you will get that cover, but I don't need that to take the shows. So that gives it some limited exclusivity in that regard. But definitely, I find that, having a lot of covers is variety. So for fans, and I do the same thing. I try to find, I'm up here, Seattle area. So I try to find like local artists to do some covers that I know, people, as we all go to shows, we meet other creators, and it's like, oh, I like this artwork. And I always tell people I'm a fan first. And, I got into publishing as kind of a selfish thing. Like I wanted to do my own thing. So I do covers that I want to see for myself, and they do sell pretty well. So, I'm kind of mixed bag, depending on the campaign and what the story's about. I will also do themes. Not necessarily homages too much, but I'll definitely theme covers for
Can you
that
tell
character.
tell us a little bit more what you mean by themes?
Well, so when I did Ice Pick was the first character that I did, and I did a 4-issue miniseries. I'm a big fan of miniseries. I think that's a nice little tight package that people can get behind, and it's not too long. I did a trade for that. But for issue 2, and this was a book I did all myself. I wrote, drew, colored, lettered, the whole 9.
Nice.
And for the second issue on Kickstarter, I did one of my buddies who's a really talented artist. We did a 3D cover, and it literally had the 3D glasses that would come with it. And I had like 40 some layers in Photoshop because I had to separate everything out. Super fun cover, but again, it was super exclusive. I only printed so many, and they're also, I kept one for myself. But fun stuff like that, because Ice Pick is like a throwback to 90s action superhero stuff. And to me, I felt like, 3D would be kind of fun.
That is cool. That's a great idea, man. Hey, and real quick, how about, do you do metal covers at all?
For my campaign launching here on March 15th, I am actually dipping my toes into metal covers. And this will be the biggest campaign I've done, because I'm going to do, just to see what sells. Like, I wouldn't know, but I'm doing a metal of the regular cover with a metal trading card, and then also like a metal version, like a virgin cover. So you'll have that variety. Like, do you want just the regular cover, or, just more variety for people?
Well, Todd, you can definitely look for me to come asking you questions, because I want to know how metal covers sell. I haven't done it yet, but a quick show of hands in this room. Have any of us done metal covers? Yeah, I haven't either. Okay, so we'll skip past that. All right, let's jump back to Paul. Paul, let me ask you this question. And this one has 2 parts. The first thing is, are you a merchandising guy? Like, what types of merchandising are available with your product? And most notably, which ones worked?
Like merchandise, meaning like t-shirts?
Well, it could be anything. We're going to talk. My guess is we're going to hear a lot of different stuff here.
So
like mugs, shirts, plushies, whatever you got.
Okay, so for like me personally, like my first con I did Terrificon, right? And I had a $5 book, was my first book. I was like, this is the only thing that can't be on my, my table. So, I did hoodies, I did t-shirts. They did fairly well. Like, we sold like 10 of the hoodies, we sold like 20 of the shirts. Awesome, it worked. But then as I got more books, I kind of like steered away from that, and I kind of maybe, you know, I get shirts for myself for every con. Like I'll make like some new shirts like for San Diego, for New York when I do it. But for personal, I honestly just stick to the books on the table. And then like we have trading cards and little mini prints and stuff that we give out with purchases, or like even with a Kickstarter or the last Indiegogo, I had so many because I printed 1,000 trading cards of one of my campaigns that I just throw them into every single order they even get on my website. I just throw them in there. Just the trading cards, I guess, would be, you know, the thing that I'm probably going to further stick with, because I don't know how to handle all that shipping stuff when it comes to like sweatshirts and stuff.
Right. And sometimes, as I'm fond of mentioning, making the additional merchandise eats up the most valuable resource, which is time.
Yeah, time, and also like table space. Like right now
Yeah.
I have 7 books, you know, so like I got to pick and choose what's there. And if I add like 2 variant covers, okay, now there's no more space, and I have like these high rise things now.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so like I try to like space it out in the right way. But definitely I've seen it work. It's just not the model I'm sticking with.
Right. And I respect that. I'm sort of veering toward that myself. David, how about you? Are you a merchandising guy? What kind of things have worked and or didn't work?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same vein that Paul is, where I really want my table space to be my books. At this point, with my flagship title, The Offspring, I have 25 issues that are out, 7 trades. So I really want to use that space to be able to have my trades. I sell a lot of trades. Individual books sell okay, but my trades sell really well. So I try to make sure I have room for those trades of my flagship and my one shots. Oftentimes I will put out postcards. I'll make postcards of my artwork or my logo. I found that a lot of times people who are left-handed for correct-handed comics come up correct-handed. I do, and they'll they'll get a postcard or they'll ask me, you mean it's left-handed, right? So I've often thought having some mugs to sell probably would be a great idea to be able. It's really me trying to think of, do I want to take up table space for a $10-12 mug, or have that table space for the books, which is the thing that I'm actually there to sell. So it really is like a juggling act to be able to figure out how much you want to use for those kind of things and how much you don't. The postcards that I use and the little cards that I use and little pictures that I print out, they go pretty well. And I'll usually, if I have to mail something out to somebody, throw a couple of those in there, and people seem to really appreciate that. So while right now I do have T-shirts, I do have other things like that. I oftentimes don't put them out on the table, and if people ask for them, I'll bring them out. But I leave them down just because of limited supply, and because I want to be looking at the books and the merch,
Yeah, I
which
think
maybe is a bad idea. I don't know. Maybe that's a bad idea.
Well, like I say, there's not really any wrong answers. This is something we can all learn from, right? Mike, how about you? Merchandise, is it a staple of your program? What kind of things work and don't work for out of
So
time
the thing
comics?
that I haven't delved too much into it, just because for me, a lot of it's capital. Like I don't always have enough money left over to try and print up a bunch of T-shirts and stuff like that. You know, the thing that's worked really well for me at the conventions is I do, you know, as a writer only, right? I'm not an artist, so I don't have a lot of artwork to draw from, but I do limited edition prints for most every show that I go to, most of the big shows that I go to. And I do like these nice 11 by 17 prints. I put them on cardstock. I make 50 of them. I number them each. I hand number them each. And usually, because I have my 2 main books, I have my, my $20 book, my $10 book, and the pitch is basically you buy them both, you get the limited edition print for free. And that's a real nice incentive that people really seem to like. They're kind of, sometimes it'll push people over the edge. And if they're already going to buy both of them, then it's like a nice little bonus. I did for last year, for the first time. Usually I just picked the cover of one of my books and printed those, but last year I was going to Granite Con, and Granite Con is a great little show out in New Hampshire, but it's extremely Ninja Turtles heavy, very focused on Ninja Turtles, and I'm a big Ninja Turtles fan. So I created a print this time. I had an artist friend do an homage cover to Ninja Turtles 8, which has like the 4 turtles and Cerebus and this girl, Renee. And I had them switch out. He did like an homage to that, but put my character instead of the girl, And I did that as a print for Granite Con. And that thing was, people actually paid for them alone just to get the print, which usually I only give them away as a freebie. So that's been kind of my big merch thing, is a little print, and hopefully people hang them on their walls or put them in their portfolios or whatever. But that's been what's worked the best for me, just because again I haven't had the extra money a lot of times to go out, and I've done the postcards and magnets and stuff for like the Kickstarters, and I'll give those out and put them in packages and stuff, but nothing too big beyond that.
Right, right. That's a good answer too. So Todd, how about you? Are you a merchandising guy? What has been your favorite one? And maybe if you have an example of something that didn't work.
Yeah, same thing. I'm kind of on the fence where I've done merch for some crowdfunding campaigns and really haven't done anything for the most recent campaign with Annabelle. But when I did do ice pick, I did lanyards, trading cards, things like that. I did come across a website, was it Spreadshirt, and they do drop shipping for merch. You just got to drop in your art and they will print basically a shirt on demand. So I have like a little web store set up for that. I don't find that it does really well. I did it for my own kind of selfishness. I made myself a shirt and a hat. You know, I'm like, all right, cool, just to see the quality, and it's pretty good. But I don't really dive into that. And I know that for some creators, I think if it's character specific, like you can do plushies and you can do these really fun things because there's characters that fits with. I haven't really found that that works with any of the characters that I produce. So I just kind of, yeah, you know, I really don't dive into it that much.
Well, and I sense that we have kind of a consensus there. And this is just my opinion. I'll make it brief, which I always have a concern. Does merchandising draw away from the reading experience?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems
I
like we
agree.
all agree on that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, it's great if you can get them to buy your books and also a t-shirt and a hat, you know,
Yeah.
but I feel like, especially as independent creators, unless you have somebody who's kind of an existing fan of yours, I think it's hard to get them to go all in on that. And then, like you said,
Yeah.
I would rather have them read the book or rather have them wear the t-shirt. And I
Yeah.
think most of us would rather have them read the book. Hopefully that have them coming back for the next one, you know?
Yeah.
I had one small success, which I'll share, and it was my idea. I have like some people that helped me at the booth, and one of the things they did was they bought an ink stamp with the logo on it and stamped a bunch of plain white bags. And every customer, I say, hey, do you need a bag? Guess what? Every customer says, yes, I need a bag. So then all day they're walking around the con with your logo in their hand.
So I've been meaning to order bags like that because I usually bring bags and it's always like one of the most valuable commodities for people at the shows. So I'm always like people's hero if I give them a bag. And I've been same thing. I didn't think about doing the stamp. That's a good idea, but I've been thinking about doing some custom bags with the company logo on it just because I end up giving out a bunch of them. So like you said, why not have them carry the logo around?
May as well be carrying your logo. It's all branding, right?
Yeah.
All right. So my next question, Paul, I'm going to jump back to you. So a lot of us are in what they call these digital swap programs where you say, hey, I'll give you a free copy of my book if so forth. Are you a participator in a digital swap? And if so, how did that go for you?
Yeah, I've done it before, like if we hit this much money or we did this much backers, we did it. I don't really feel like it drives sales. Because I've done it and haven't done it, it's the same thing for me. Like it's like honestly the same with the variant covers. I feel like the money's all the same. So I want to I didn't do it for this one. I am taking part. Kat does a lot of Kickstarters. I just gave her one of my books, and I sometimes do it with like Charlie and some other people as well. You know, just if they need the stuff, or if I even see it online, I'm gladly happy to give my book out to anybody that wants or one of the issues, because if it does come in a digital pack and someone does buy the PDFs and someone does read it, you know, hopefully they come and now they're on my Kickstarter. Hopefully they come and they're on my website, and then it just goes from there. So I definitely recommend for creators to find those out. Personally, on my campaign, I don't think it does anything yet. Once I'm like bigger, once I have once we start hitting like over 200-300 backers a Kickstarter, I think it would be more beneficial.
Totally agree. Totally agree. David, how about you? Do you have a swap partner? Or do you have anything where it's buy my book, get you a free copy of X? And how did it work?
Yeah, well, as a one-man band, I like we talked before, I don't really do any crowdfunding. I don't Kickstart. I just put out the books. So, and if people want to buy them, they can buy them. But I have in the past lent my artwork or lent a book to another company or another person who was trying to put together a Kickstarter, and some of them did fine, and some of them kind of fell apart as they moved forward. So I haven't really, I see it from time to time, and there are books that I like, and they say, hey, we're looking to do a little swap of stories. And I'll kind of consider, and I'll kind of mull it over. Done it that much.
Hold on.
For no real reason.
Let's do this one over. Hold on a second, brother. We're losing your audio. Are you guys hearing that?
Yeah, it's stuttering.
Yeah, something's wrong with the audio. Maybe turn it down a little bit more, and we'll do that over again.
Okay.
Or I could maybe dub you later like a movie. I can do
Great.
that.
Yeah. Is that better? Can you guys hear me okay now?
Yeah, actually that is a little
Yeah.
bit better. So hey, if you don't mind, we'll just do that question over again. Ready?
Okay.
Okay. Hey, so David, how about you? Do you
Let's do that.
participate in a digital swap? And if so, what kind of things worked or didn't work?
Yeah, so as a one-man band, I don't do Kickstarter or crowdfunding. I just put out the books in the hopes that people will buy and enjoy them. So I haven't really had a chance to be able to do that much. There has been times where I have lent my book to somebody who was starting a Kickstarter, a couple times with varying degrees of success for that Kickstarter. I would say that if I were to dive a little bit deeper into the Kickstarter crowdfunding arena, I probably would be a little bit more aware of giving and taking and doing all that to be able to have more eyeballs on the book, because that's really what it's about. The more eyeballs you get on the book, hopefully the more you sell.
Okay. And Mike, same question for you. Are you a digital swap partner? What kind of things have worked for you?
I have done a couple more digital donations where I give people my book who have kind of put out like, hey, you know, if you pledge on, you know, our Kickstarter, you get 25 digital comics, and I'll always give mine for free if I catch that. I haven't done any myself like that because I have such executive dysfunction and ADHD. Like the fact that I've run like 6 successful campaigns, I think is the equivalent to like a mouse making a motion picture. Like I don't know.
Right.
Like I look back and I'm like, how did I actually ever publish a comic book? It's the most mind-blowing thing to me because most days I could never finish anything. So like it's always one of those things like, oh, I should do that. And then the campaign will be halfway over and I'm like, oh, I probably should have asked people if they want to donate their digital book. And then I'm like, well, maybe I'll do it now. And then the campaign ends and I'm like, was I gonna do something with digital books? Like it just doesn't, my brain doesn't work that way. It takes everything I've got just to get the books out. So I'm always happy to give people mine and include them like you guys said. And if it gets some eyeballs in the books, and I've gotten a couple of sales from doing that. So I'm never gonna, I'm not so rich that I'll turn down a couple of sales. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I just it's more like, here, you can have mine and enjoy it. And I just don't know that I'll be able to put that together, you know, on my end. But I think it's a great idea. I think it's a cool community thing to do for sure.
Yeah, it's a sound concept, right?
Yeah.
So Todd, how about you? Are you a swap partner? What kind of things have you tried?
I think with everyone else, I think I've given my books out more than I've really done it. I've only done it for one of my campaigns, and you know, it did okay. You know, I don't know if it's something, again, like I think the revenue is kind of all the same. So I mean, I'm always happy to like be part of that community and say, hey, here's the first issue. Hopefully, I don't know if I've really seen any sales from it, but you know, I've definitely participated more than done it myself.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same here. So, and I think that one of the categories I want to talk about this is, you know, my main category every time that increases the most is digital backers. And so my question for Paul would be this. First, is that true for you? Is that your fastest growing category? And second, do you offer, like if you go through your website after the crowdfunding, do you sell a digital PDF? And does it come with anything extra?
So for every crowdfunding campaign, I do the digital. You can only get digital on the crowdfunding. On my website is all floppies or trade paperbacks that we ship out. So the digitals, they vary. You know, I definitely think it's something that people could do, like that have like, you know, cluttered rooms, or, you know, they live in apartment buildings where there's not a lot of space and they want to read it beforehand. And hopefully after they read it, then they go, okay, now I'll buy this and put this on my shelf. I definitely think it's like, I see it as like free money in a sense. Like it's just, you're sending a PDF. Like it's like the quickest thing you could possibly do to get a fan, or, you know, branch out even more, you know? So like I do overseas though. I know a lot of people that might not do overseas. I'll have the digital pickup. I've shipped to so many places, and you know, so I definitely think the digital does help, especially move that backer number.
Does it come with anything extra when they buy the digital, or is it just the PDF?
Yeah, just a PDF, read it. Of course, I want to be at a spot. And I tried doing it on my website. I actually did for a while before I had crowdfunding, before I had anything. I had it where it was like a flip book on my website that you could read my first book once you buy it for like $1.99 or whatever. I really didn't see too much traction from it. That's why I just removed it and then just said, hey, it's $5 for the Kickstarter, you know, or you can get 30 for like all the stuff that we have.
Gotcha. And David, how about you? Do you sell a digital PDF? And if so, does it come with anything extra?
Yeah, I do. What I oftentimes have found has worked for me. So if someone contacts me through my Facebook or through any social media or my website, and they for 1, 2, or 3, and 4, or I just read I Won't Stop, or I just read Shady Lady, and they say I really liked it, I will oftentimes say, hey, give me your email. I'll send you a PDF of one of my other one shots, or I'll send you a PDF of number 5 of The Offspring, so you can, hopefully continue the story and get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 as they go. And I sometimes will throw in a just a digital copy of a cover of something, or a promotional poster that I drew up for one of the books, just for them to be able to have it. Oftentimes, what I found is if I throw in a poster or a digital JPEG of something, oftentimes that person will put it on their social media and say, "Hey, I just read this great book by this great writer and artist. Give it a shot." So that kind of free publicity, I'll never turn down. So it really is for me just trying to foster that relationship with a new reader, hopefully one that sticks around for a while, and that new reader could possibly make more new readers through just me saying, "Hey, now try this," and it's worked. It's done well for me in the past.
Okay. And so Mike, how about you? Do you sell a digital PDF? And if you do, does it come with anything extra?
A little bit. Yeah, I do. And you're right about it being about it growing too. You know, in my last campaign, I saw a huge increase in digital backers compared to my campaigns before that. It was my highest by quite a number. And I do sell them on the website afterwards also. What I try to do is like mostly like all of like if you give it the PDF, I get all 5 different variant covers included in the PDF as opposed to just the main cover. Because I feel like if you're not getting the physical copy, you're not getting the collectability of it, so to speak. The least I can do is give you all the pictures to look at, and hopefully again you find one that you really like. And so I include all that, and then certain things like my first printing of my trade paperback, my first trade paperback had like 25 pages of bonus materials. I've cut that for the later printings just to save on printing costs, but I left it in the PDF as a little bonus. You know what I mean? And if you buy the physical, at least through the Kickstarters, if you buy the physical, you get the PDF as well, not through the website, but that's mostly just because I haven't remembered to do that. So try and give them a little extra, but nothing too crazy, generally speaking, but kind of, like David was saying, occasionally I'll send them to people, for promotional reasons or something. I might be like, here, here's a PDF of this. If I think it's something that, either as a reader who might come back, or a promotional thing with some sort of, publisher or movie studio or something like that, then, I'll send them all the PDF links and stuff like that too. So why not?
I like the idea of the bonus content. I think that digital backers, if it's your growing category, they should get something.
Yeah.
Todd, what do you have to say about that? And what's your digital experience like?
Yeah, I would agree. I think if I compare all digital, say just in crowdfunding in general, that probably equals the total number of backers from all the other categories. So, I mean, for one category to equal all the other categories, that's a pretty significant, number. But I agree. Like when I do my digital PDF, I throw in all the variant covers, just as like, hey, again, you're not getting that collectability, like Mike was saying, but you get that all those pretty pictures. So I don't really throw in anything extra, but I will typically have other reward tiers that will, or for stretch goals. Oh, here's more digital stuff. I try to keep it digital for cost and obvious reasons, but yeah, don't have anything on the website or anything like that. I've given them out a little bit here and there, but haven't really noticed that generated any kind of bump in sales in any way. So
Yeah. And it's a tough call, right? Because we
yeah.
know that it's a growing category, but not exact. It's very difficult to pin down exactly why.
Mhm.
Like I get it that it's easier to purchase it that way, but I'm not 100% sure that I'm getting more readers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe there's that. Okay, so I saved the hardest question for last. Are you ready for this? So here's the thing. The market is more crowded than ever with indie creators. And man, some of the books are really good. Like it's a competitive arena that we market our products in. Paul, what are you doing to make your product stand out for the customer?
So I definitely try to make the highest quality comic book possible. You know, we have a really good team of artists. You know, we have a really good team of colorists and production all around. I definitely grew with the series. Like for example, like my homage book, you know, looked pretty sick.
That's cool.
You know, the
It's really
front
cool.
cover, homage cover, back cover. We have a back cover as well. No ads. You know, all the pages inside are, you know, super stellar. You know, we try to give you that like glossy feel with every single page.
Yep.
So I definitely think the quality definitely stands out, and I think that's something that we get a lot of feedback for that people really appreciate.
Yeah.
And to even piggyback, because I had to check on the last question, I was like, wait, how many digital backers do I have versus backers? I needed to look. So for the new campaign we have right now, you know, we have 17 on the digital, and then we have 24 on cover A. And then I have with the variant cover and the variant cover combo, it's 17. So the variant cover combo is like the same as the digital. And I guess my cover
Right.
A is like my superior. So
Yeah. And do you mind if I ask, what's your paper weight for interior paper? Do you know off the top of your 80?
I'm pretty sure it's 80. Yeah. And the covers,
Yeah.
I either do 80 or glossy, or I do like 100.
Yeah,
So
I do the
it's
100
nice.
now too.
You can like really like play with them. Like if they fell, like they're not,
It
they
feels
don't.
like a book. It feels like a book.
Yeah, it's nice. The paper is really nice. Like I would love, you know, I think of it as this, like I always see it as a, you know, be the consumer first. Like would I pick that up if I grabbed it and just like held it? And would I be able to pay, you know, $10 or for my trade, we sell them for 50 at the cons. Like, would I be able to pick that up and go, yeah, this is worth the price, you know? So I
Yeah.
try to provide this.
Yeah, I'm one of your fans, Paul. We met at Baltimore. I think you got a quality book there. So, David, let's jump over to you. What are you doing to make your product stand out in the crowded marketplace?
Yeah, really, I think that one of the things that I offer is a story that's a little bit different. Like when I came up with the idea of the Offspring, it was really out of my love of different genres, of liking so many different kinds of stories. So when I started formulating the story for this, I thought, how can I get all those genres into this one book? So if it's sci-fi, there's time travel, there's action adventure, there's monsters, there's romance, there's all these things. Right now, for starting ending season 2 up to issue 25, and starting in issue 26 that's coming out in the next couple months, we've just started diving into time travel while having a lot of fun doing it. So I think that if I am obviously having fun creating it, that the reader will have fun reading it, I hope.
You're definitely a prolific publisher, man. That's an impressive accomplishment.
Thank you.
So let's jump over to Mike. Mike, it's a hard question, right?
Yeah.
What are you doing to make your product stand out?
A couple things that I'll focus on. One, my first book I did as a 4-issue miniseries, and I know you guys mentioned we like miniseries, and I hated doing it. Again, that ADHD thing, I was like, I finished one issue, I'm like, well, now I want the next issue finished. But as a writer, I have to wait for an artist and a color and a letter and all that stuff. And it just felt like it took forever to put the whole thing together. I was never so happy as when I got my trade paperback. So what I'm doing now with all my books, I'm putting them all out as 48-page one-shots. So rather than doing serialized or mini series, every book that I'm doing, so like my Uncaped book that I mentioned, right, it's 48 pages. It's square bound, much like you guys got the thick paper, the cardstock covers, but it's a one shot, complete story start to finish. You know, my new book is a horror book. It's coming out. I'm doing the campaign soon for it. Same thing, 48 pages, complete story start to finish. And at the conventions, what I find is that makes it a lot easier to sell. When I was doing the mini series, I went to conventions like just the first 2 issues, and it was really hard to sell it to people because they want a complete story, you know.
Yeah.
And I had a really hard time being like, well, they're coming, and people don't believe you. I think you're gonna go out of business, you know. So now it's easy to be like, look, you buy this, you get the whole thing, you read it, you're done. You don't have to read it. There's no cliffhanger. There's no, you know, I can do a follow-up to it, but it's its own story. So I think that's been really helpful for me. That's how I'm doing it from now on, because then I know it's done. I don't have to worry about finishing it in another issue or writing a cliffhanger or things like that, because it's just not how my brain really likes to do things. And then the other thing I do is, as you can see on my banner here, where fun comes first, much like you, David. My books are all comedy hybrids. My first two are superhero comedies. My next one is a horror comedy. I can't write serious stuff. I'm a jokester, and so I'll never be able to write The Dark Knight Returns. So I'm not going to try. So for me, I think being able to tell people like, look, this is a funny book. If you read it, you're going to laugh or at least chuckle. I think that intrigues people, and that can kind of help win over some of the more casual readers. I think some of the more I sell to a lot of like soccer moms and like, walking around with their kids and stuff. And I'm like, well, hey, I got a superhero rom-com, like check that out. And they're like, why not, for $10, So that's been kind of one of the things that I've focused on too.
Yeah, nice. And like I say, I've seen your work and it's really good. I think that you're on a roll. This is your year, buddy. This is your year.
I hope so. Appreciate it.
Okay, Todd, same question for you, man. Let's be honest. This is a hard question. What are you doing to make your product stand out?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just staying humble. Like this is one of those things where, egos can really get into place. I've been at shows and just be approachable for a lot of people. Listen to people, answer, questions, have a conversation with them, But as far as like the content of books go, I think a lot of people, in one of your last episodes, you talked about how people like to connect with the actual creator, not necessarily a business page, thing like that. So for me, it's like being accessible to people as a creator. They like the book. They can, I've had people email me, message me, stuff like that. So it's nice having that personal connection. I think that builds readership. But as far as like creativity with my books here, I basically am doing 3 separate miniseries, and each one is a different genre, and each one will be a trade after those 4 issues are done, and then it'll be like all the stories kind of intertwined. So the first one's like 90s. Ice Pick was all 90s superhero stuff. Annabelle is more femme fatale, sexy lady saving the day type of thing, and the next book is going to be all horror. So it deals with supernatural things, which everybody's familiar with, but again, putting your own spin on things and having a little bit of fun, a little bit of excitement, a little bit escapism, and I like to say super fantastical storytelling. So for me, like what Paul said is this something I would buy? If I'm walking down the shelf of comic books, and what covers stick out to me, my day job is a designer, so it's like you have that artistic eye and you're like, is that going to stand out on a shelf? So I try to like put that into my books, well-designed books, quality, obviously, everyone talks about quality.
Can I ask you to expand on that a little bit? Because I love talking to designers. I am not one. And I totally know how valuable it is. When you say well-designed, could you be a little bit more specific what you mean by that?
There's a lot of things that, as a designer, you take into account. Color, logo placement, size of things, shapes. People recognize color before they recognize anything else. So it's having a color that's going to stand out a little bit more, and it could only be like 10% brighter, but that's something that may catch someone's eye. I've had people comment on the character design of Ice Pick, looking at it as contrast. You have blues, you have really light colors, and then you have really dark colors. So you have this nice contrast, and it can stand out again against other things. So that's what I try to do. Logo placement. Is it top of the book? Is it bottom of the book? How is someone going to see it? Banners, make sure that like if someone's way down into the other side of the convention, they're going to see your banner on the sea of banners, and using color and shapes and things like that really helps people to catch your banner, catch their eye.
Well, I appreciate that answer, because I think that's something that is, especially for newer creators, it's a difficult element of branding that we don't all understand, especially for writers.
It's hard, and I've seen a lot of like badly designed things, and it's no fault of that person, right? I mean, we only know what we know. So if we don't have this education or understanding under our belts, like we just do what we think looks best. And being in a marketing team, you're like, that's not going to do very well because of ABC, and you just have to put that in the back of your head and remember that when we're working on our books.
It's sometimes we say it's hard to tell what we like, but it's easy to tell what we don't like.
Yeah, exactly. And I always ask people that too, like, what you don't like, what don't you like? And then let's go from there. you
Man.
know.
Well, thank you for that thoughtful answer.
Sure.
Yeah. So, hey, guys, we're almost ready to wrap it up here, but I want to learn a little bit more about where viewers can find you and to learn about your work. Paul, lay it on us, man. What are you promoting right now? And where is the best place for viewers to find you?
So number one place is projectanalysis.com, projectanalysis, one word.com. You can find us on social media. Twitter, Instagram is the ones we use the most. Right now we have an active campaign called Crimson Pain. All my comics right now, under my publishing company, focus in this one story of Project Analysis. So we focus on the antagonist Crimson Pain, right after the travesty event where he eliminates 98 million people. So it's really how he builds up his rebellion against the rising government that he's kicking off against.
Perfect. And I will include the links for the viewers that would like to follow along. Highly recommended. Project Analysis. Good stuff. David, how about you? What is the best place for us to find you, and where can we find your work?
You can find links to all my on all social medias. If you look up Correct Hand, you'll find the blue hand right here, from Twitter and Facebook and TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. And I oftentimes understand how sometimes as an indie creator, long-term storytelling can be scary for some people to jump on board with. So one of the things I like to do is create those one-shots as kind of like a bridge for people to be able to see my style and my writing and see if it's something they like. So you can find links to all of my multiple one-shots, from a 80s horror genre that I have called The Sock Hop Killer, to a superhero story called I Won't Stop. So you can find it all on correcthandedcomics.com. I also have coming out in March, crossing my fingers, I'm getting really close, my second 100+ page graphic novel called Latent Lightspeed, and it is an epic space, aliens, alien planets, swashbuckling spaceships, all that stuff story. And I think it has a lot of heart to it also. So I'm excited to get that out so people can see it, hopefully early mid-March.
Perfect. Well, we will look forward to that. Mike, how about you, man? So tell us where we can find your stuff.
Sure. Well, all the existing stuff you can find at either outoftimecomics.com, out of time spelled like it looks, I guess, sort of all one word there. And all the social media channels, you same as David, the Facebook, the Twitter, the TikTok, the Instagram, all at Out of Time Comics. Like Paul, I am launching a new campaign on February 27th for my brand new horror comedy graphic novel. It's called The 8-Bit Slasher. It basically mashes up video games and slasher films. It's a video game slasher, gets sucked out of the video game into the real world and starts killing people, and then brings elements of the video games into the real world with him as well. So lots of 8-bit mayhem happening there. And that's going to be on Kickstarter. And you'll put the link up so people can find that easily, hopefully. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that one. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, that sounds like a great concept, Mike. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Okay, Todd, how about you, man? We only just met, of course, but I'm interested in learning here more. Where is the best place to follow you and to find your work?
Well, it's funny that we're doing this tonight because I'm actually going to be launching website Monday, which will be right before this episode launches.
Nice.
And but for right now, I mean, people can find me on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, things like that. My name, TODD RAYNER Art. For my personal stuff, for anything like comics and whatnot related, it's all Dark Space Studio, all one word. I have the Annabelle issue 3. We got issue 2. Hopefully not too shiny there. That's issue 2, and we have issue 3 launching March 15th, and that's looking really good. And that will also have an add-on for my definitive edition trade of Ice Pick. And this is like 160 some pages, all 4 issues. People really like it. We talked about trades on here, and I put in all my artwork for now. I was like 16 when I first started making the character. So there's some really bad art in this trade, and I think that's why people like it, because they want to see the growth over all the years. But yeah, everything is just TODD RAYNER Art or Dark Space Studio.
Perfect. Well, I will look forward to that. In closing, I just want to say thanks so much, guys, for sharing your time and your knowledge on this subject. And I wish you all the success with your projects. I hope they go terrific for you. And to the viewers, thanks for tuning in. This has been an episode of the Creative Cranium. Good night, everybody.